If you've ever wished that selling on Amazon could be simpler, smarter, and actually fun, this may be the moment you've been waiting for. Hi everybody, I'm Victor with Master Book Flippers. We've recently made some massive changes to our software. And this isn't just an update, this is going to open up some brand new possibilities for Amazon used booksellers. Since we've launched in 2019, we've continually improved our service. And as we head into 2026 and beyond, I'm excited to share with you our biggest changes and improvements we've ever made. All right, so here's a quick overview, and then we'll get into them a little bit deeper. First, we've got Smart Strike Alerts. So this is where we're looking at books that are already curated, and then there's a sudden price drop, okay? So real time, we're going to be notifying you. We're not on any schedule. We're not checking them every few hours. Real-time price alerts so you can find the best deals out there and scoop them up quickly. That's number one. The second is the price war score. This is where racing to the bottom is something you're going to like because you're not going to be the one racing to the bottom. This is where two other sellers are in a price war perhaps, and the price has gone down because of the price war. And you're going to be able to find that for the first time using our software, without having to look on the Amazon listing. Very, very powerful. All right, next we have a new modern interface. So this is much different than any other arbitrage tool, including ours that you've seen, and it is optional as far as no longer needing to look at rows and columns when sourcing books. Instead, you're going to be able to look at an interface. It's going to speed up the process. You're going to have better data, and it's far more intuitive. And as one of my customers has said, this actually makes it fun. So there's the interface. Next, we've added a bunch more data in there, giving you lots of flexibility. We'll go into all these data fields, but we've got the book bindings. We've got the lowest price FBA, the second, the third, and a whole bunch of other things we've added in there. Next, we've got supply and demand metrics built in, right? So before you even look at a Keepa chart, you can filter with our software and get an idea of what the Keepa chart is going to look like and what it's going to tell you before you even look at it. So that's very powerful. And we've got a customizable dashboard. All right, so this is something that it just works right out of the box, but you can customize it to the things that you want to look at. And we've got repricing capabilities. And that is when you're buying a book, that is also actually a really good time to think about repricing rather than waiting for later. And our software is going to help you do that at the time of purchase. And the last thing we need to talk about, of course, would be artificial intelligence. So we have artificial intelligence capabilities built in, and we have some plans for the future. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, let's take a closer look and see what these updates can mean for your Amazon business. All right, let's talk about Smart Strike Alerts. Now, if you've ever looked at a Keepa chart and you've seen the price drop quite a bit all of a sudden, and it was only there maybe for a short period of time, you know it was a really good deal and you wish you could have gotten it at that price. Well, your wishes have come true. We now have something called Smart Strike Alerts, which monitor the books that we have in our database, plus a bunch more. And what we're doing is we are looking for a sudden drop in price, a significant sudden drop in price, okay? The book drops a few pennies or whatever. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for where it's dropped quite a bit, okay? A big percentage. So what we're going to do in real time, 24/7, 365, it's going to show up right here like you see, and you'll see what the new price is, and you'll have links to the Keepa chart, you'll have links to the listing, and you also have a link directly to Seller Central to see if you are restricted. And of course, we have the title and the ASIN, but those aren't that important. So let me show you some examples, and you're going to see what these Keepa charts look like. You may not have really seen many of these, right? Because unless you're using our software, you're not going to see these too often. But we're going to be able to find them very easily using this new feature. All right. So sometimes when you pop it open, it'll say, "Hey, just that a smart strike alert just happened." It'll say right there, right? You see in this example, say just now. So when you look at the Keepa chart like this example, it's almost hard to tell. It's all the way on the right because it just happened, right? That price just dropped significantly, and you might want to take a look at it. Let me show you a couple more examples. You'll get the idea pretty quickly. Here's this next one, and you can see the price dropped significantly, and likely somebody purchased it. And here's another example. This one was, sometime in July for a very short period of time. Maybe sometimes it could just be, less than an hour. Sometimes it's a few hours. It depends. But again, we're not on any schedule for these. When it happens, as soon as we're notified, we're gonna put it up there for you. And here's another one where the price just dropped and we're immediately notified. Those are just a couple examples. So, we've got tons of them coming out every day, and just a really great feature to say to yourself, hey, maybe, you want to just take a peek whenever, even maybe when you're not in the middle of sourcing, you just want to look over there and say, hey, can I make a quick buck? Can I find a quick smart strike alert? You look in there and maybe you'll find one that meets your needs. All right. So really cool feature, something that I wish we had when I first started off. We certainly didn't. There's nothing else like this that I'm aware of that's going to notify you. And by the way, this is not like a Keepo alert, right? Keepo alerts can work, but as people know, they are very, very time consuming to manage. And not only that, you're not going to find the Keepo alerts very often like this. They're just going to be, hey, the price went down. It finally, maybe it took 3 weeks, maybe it took 3 months, finally meets your price. And then at that point, the market may have changed, and probably did change significantly, and it's not as great of a deal as you once thought of. So the point of these smart strike alerts is quality over quantity, and I think you're going to find them very beneficial when you jump in to check them out. All right, the next thing I know you're going to love, especially if you're an experienced bookseller, is the price war score. All right, so first let's define what is a price war. Price war occurs when we as booksellers are trying to buy the book, and we want to buy the book as low as possible, right? And we want to get a good deal. That's always going to be the case, right? And now you've got an advantage you have not had before, where you're going to be able to find those books a lot easier. So a price war is when two sellers are presumably selling their books cheaper and keep going down in price because they are in a price war, because they are likely using an automatic repricer. And what that creates for us as book flippers is the opportunity to buy the book at a big discount and take advantage of that. And at the same time, when you take advantage of a price war, you manipulate the market and you make that black line on the Keepo chart go up immediately after you purchase the book or multiple books. So pretty cool stuff. So the way all of our scores work, and I'll just talk about the price war score right here, is if you look in our software, it's got a price war score from 1 to 5, right? So we're going to make it easy. Think of it 1 to 5, just like if you're doing an Amazon review of a book or a product or whatever, with 5 being the best, okay? So we rank them from 1 to 5, and we do this mathematically, okay? If you see a higher the number, there's higher the likelihood that there is a price war going on. So let me explain. Now, the price war you will not be able to tell on the Keepa chart, right? So like I suggested, the only way up until now you've been able to ever find a price war going on is to actually look at the Amazon listing, okay? So now for the first time, booksellers are able to identify price wars without having to look at the Amazon listing. So how cool is that? And you're going to realize this, you start using our software and you get into it and you realize, holy cow, I can do something I've never been able to do before. We are the only ones that are doing this as far as I know. All things being equal, you want a price war going on. Okay, so let me show you some examples. So we'll just do these top 4, I guess. So the first one, this is a 5. So if we look at the Amazon listing, you can see that these first 2 are in a price war. So we knew that just by looking at our software. We didn't have to come in here and click it, but we could see a price war is going on. And by the way, I should have mentioned that our prices now, but when you see the lowest price, that includes the shipping. Okay, the only thing it doesn't include is tax. So it adds it up, and we figure it out mathematically to figure it out. All right, this next one. Now, this next one, a price war score, at least for the way we're going to define it, is if there's 1 or 2 sellers that are below significantly below other prices. And that's what we see here. So we only see one seller selling at $19.99 plus $3.99 shipping, and then the next merchant fulfill offer you can see is over $38, right? So giant gap, and the next one down is $39. So you can see that there's a huge gap. So you're getting that book way below the other sellers if you were to purchase this book at that price. So that's a high price, and that was a 4.8. This next one is a 4.5. So this one's not as good, but this one's still significantly good, as you can see. Is this one, these two. And again, we add up those numbers before we figure out mathematically whether or not there's a price war going on. Now let me show you this last one. Now this last one does not have a price war, or it's a 1, right? So what that means is these prices are darn near exact or close to it, and it's exactly what we see. And as I mentioned, you can tell that we're adding in the shipping, so we can see that these guys are all going in. There's no price war going on. Really, really powerful tool that I really hope people take advantage of that. And you want to buy your book cheaper than everybody else, raise the market, and your probability of doing well goes up significantly. All right, we've got another one. We do things differently here, if you haven't noticed. And this was a big one, really. And I've become very accustomed to it, and a lot of our customers have as well. And if you've used any arbitrage tool, including ours in the past or whatever, you're always just going to see all these rows and columns, right? And that's great. And everyone just thinks, well, that's the way it needs to be. Well, not anymore. We've got a cleaner, faster, and really a smarter and much more enjoyable way of doing this business. So what you're looking at here, this is kind of the standard, and you can use this, right? And this is what people can do, and you can customize it. We give you all kinds of data, all good stuff, right? And each line, each row you see here is one particular book. But we've got a new way of doing it, and I don't source books like this anymore, okay? The way I do it, we all do it on my team, we use the interface, right? You can click up here, you'll get to interface. And you'll be like, okay, what does this do? Well, this is going to show you the exact same information as you saw over here, except you're only going to be looking at one book at a time. Because guess what? How many books can you actually look at to source at once? Only one, right? And let me be clear, you have all the same filtering capabilities that you saw over here, right? There's all kinds of things you can do. This one happens to be filtered by looking at a price war score over 4, and it has a flip type that is lowest ever. And this search number 3 is set up the exact same way. All right, so all the information you saw over there is over here as well. So we've got market analytics. So you kind of look at a glance, you're going to want to know, you can see what the supply score is, all this good stuff. I'm not going to read it to you. And what these are buttons. This will take you right to Keepa. This will take you right to the Amazon listing. This will take you to whether or not you're restricted. And this will take you directly to for this book on eBay. Okay. So these will take you right to the exact book that you're looking at. And here's the title of the book, the ASIN, a ton of information. And just like over here, you can also customize it, right? If you don't want to see some of this stuff, you don't have to see it. You can just remove it so you don't see it. And you can add stuff in. You can move it all around. I mean, we're giving you so much flexibility that, it's unreal how much we're just, trying to make it as easy and make your experience as good as possible and fast, right? Because I think what happens is when you're looking at this, you start glancing with your eyes, you start going down. You don't want to do that. You really, really don't want to do that. As an experienced book flipper, I can tell you that's not a good use of your time. Why? Because we have filters for that. If you don't want to see a particular book, well, then you filter it out, right? Whatever it might be, you want a lowest price between a certain range, you filter it, right? And you do that all ahead of time. We don't spend a lot of time filtering, because what you see on the left here are all saved filters. Same thing over here. These are all saved filters, and you can create and customize them to your heart's desire. So, and let me use this new feature we have in Chrome. So this is showing both of them at the same time. So on the left, this is one, and on the left, on the right, is the interface. So it's going to show you, you have to set it up, but it'll show you in this example, these two searches, number 3, are identical. Okay, so when I look at the first book, what is this first book? Saunders Nursing. Let me see if that's the top one. That's the second one, but if I look over here, the second one here should be the same thing. Yeah, so these are set up identical. Now, so when your workflow, let's go back and just look at the full screen. The workflow would be, you have all this information, you price out the book, you get the immediate profit and ROI, and if you want to buy the book, then you mark the purchase date, all this other stuff, put in the order number. I'm not going to go through the whole workflow, but the cool thing is that, you know, just like if you were, a lot of people come into this industry or into online book arbitrage who may have spent some time at a library sale or thrift store or something like that, right? And workflow is really important, right? And we want to get through a book and go on to the next one. So, and obviously when you're sourcing like that, you're going to be rejecting the vast majority of the books, right? You're going to be rejecting books with any online arbitrage tool as well. So what you would do is just click reject and move on if you didn't like to keep a chart or whatever. And you don't have to go you don't have to filter anything, look at anything else. You know that these books are exactly the ones that you wanted to look at and also sorted exactly the way you wanted. So you're not wasting a lot of time and you're not going to get any duplicates either, which is a big time saver. So you'd mark up all this stuff and go on your way. So it just makes it a lot more focused and you don't really have to worry about filtering or anything like that. And if you want to jump to a different filter after a while, you just click on one of these and this one's going to be different. If I wanted to look at everyday gems, I would click on this. These are everyday gems. And that's the way it works. That's the interface for book flipping, sourcing books. It's going to speed it up a lot and it's really a lot more enjoyable. Now, one last thing I will mention. I'm giving this to you out of the box. I did say you can customize. I do have some other trainings when you get into it if you want to try us out. And you'll see that we make it even faster here than over here. And it may not seem like much to you, but in my mind, you know, my time is valuable. I'm going to assume yours is too. For example, the sales pattern. Yeah, you're clicking here and you got to go down and click it. But we can put buttons right in there and you just click the button and it'll immediately populate that, right? So any drop down you see can be automatically populated. The condition of the book, I do that. I've got that set up, so you just click the button. And oftentimes, if you're looking on the listings, you'll know that people charge $3.99 for shipping or $4.99 often. You can even set up a button for that. You click the button and it'll automatically populate. Okay, so really cool stuff. It's going to speed up the process quite a bit and, you know, make it a lot more enjoyable, I think, as well. Okay, now we're going to go over some of the data fields we have. So what we see here are a lot of the data fields that are pertaining to the book or other things that I thought you might find helpful. And this is not even all the fields. As you can see, we still have 41 other fields that are hidden, and you can easily unhide or hide any of them here. But I'll point these out. And the great thing about what we provide you, I think, is that not everybody's going to want to see a lot of these fields, and that's perfectly okay, and you can easily hide any ones that you don't want to see. So we obviously have the ASIN, the title. These are buttons that'll take you directly to the books. And we've got sales rank numbers, as you can see here. So the list buy cost, so this is your out-of-pocket expense for the book, excluding tax, whenever we pull the data on Amazon. And by the way, I will point out, you can hover over these at any time to get more information, and we have an entire data fields definition, so this will really help you as well with a lot more detail. And we pre-populate the sell price, and that is simply the lowest FBA offer if it is available. You'd obviously want to adjust that, but it's there pre-populated to save you some time. We've got the Amazon new price, we've got the lowest new price, and when we have the lowest price overall, and what we did here, I didn't put lowest used because there are going to be some times when the actual lowest price is new. And this field actually takes that into account, including the shipping. So this is the lowest price, including the shipping. And you'll see often these will match up. the lowest price and the list buy costs, but that's what this is. And then we also have the lowest eBay price. And I'll mention with the lowest eBay price, we have something that's, I think, even better, and that is the eBay savings rating. And what this does is it basically compares the lowest eBay price against the lowest price. And if we're going to get a good deal by buying on eBay, then the eBay savings rating will be high. So for an example, this book apparently is $6.28 on Amazon. It can be purchased cheaper for $4.10. So rather than having to really look at the lowest eBay price, it's actually better just to look at the savings rating. And if it is, if it's high, then that might be a better book to look and purchase on eBay. If it's a 1, that means it may not even be available, or it may be higher priced on eBay. So that's really helpful. This, of course, is very helpful. We've got the lowest FBA, the second and the third lowest FBA, all detailed out for you. And we've got the price gap, and as you can see, that's the difference in price between the lowest price, which includes the shipping, and the lowest FBA price. Very helpful. We have the trade-in field, which is empty because Amazon has apparently stopped doing trade-ins during COVID. Perhaps they'll do it again in the future, and we'll have the data there if they supply it to us. Got the number of used offers. We've got the status, which is really great for workflow. Let's see what else. We've got the total buy cost. We've got that will total up whatever you put in for shipping and tax on a book. So that'll be your out-of-pocket expense, including everything. We've got a spot for you to put in the order number. You can put in remarks. If you've got a prep center, we've got the fee, which will help populate the profit and ROI more accurately. We've got the sales pattern, and the sales pattern is pre-populated on thousands of our books, on the vast majority of them. And we've got the weight of the book, and we've got the date added. We've got the purchase date. We've got the binding, which is really helpful for either you or your prep center, so you know that you're kind of getting the right book. So it's going to save you some time if that's something you had been populating manually when you're buying books. We've got the publisher, and this can be very helpful. We've got the used buy box seller, and then we've got the future reprice date, and we've got the flip type. And so each book is going to have a different flip type. I won't go into the details on this video on flip types, but those can be very helpful on trying to zero in on the type of books you might want to look to source. All right, now let's talk about the scores that we have within our system. This is meant to help you make better buying decisions, and let's do a smarter job when we source books. So we've got 5 different scores, and each one does something different, and the flip score combines them all together. Now, I've already talked about the price war score, and I said it went from 1 to 5. 5 meaning that, hey, that's great. Looks like we've got a big price war going on. And that's how they all work in terms of going from 1 to 5. So I have if you hover over here, and I also have a data definitions field, as you can see, but the supply means, hey, what is the supply today compared to what it was 6 months ago, right? And in a perfect world where we would like, for reselling books and for buying them online, we would like the supply to be low. So the lower the supply, the higher the score, okay? And I think that's more or less what I put here. And the demand is probably the easiest one for people to understand, and that's just the quicker the book sells, right? So the lower the number, the less frequently it sells, more of a long tail. And then as you get up to 4 and 5, those books sell a little bit quicker. And the buy price score says, hey, are we getting a good price? The price today, the lowest price today compared to the last 6 months. If that price is really low, it'll get a higher score. Basically what that means, and that'll help you make get better deals by looking at those. The higher numbers usually, but not always. And then we talked about the price war, and then we got the flip score, kind of combines them all together. Now, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on this video on how to use these scores and things like that, but long story short, I wouldn't necessarily think that just because a flip score might be below 2, that wouldn't be something we would buy. That's not always the case, not always the case at all. Now we're showing you the left side of the screen just to point out that those same scores are also going to be on the interface. We have all the same scores will be there as well. Okay, so they're just showing you for that one particular book, it'll show up there. All right, so really powerful, really good for filtering, right? You want to set up your filters, you want to utilize these scores along with other data. So you're looking at, maybe the best books that you want to look at and then move on from there. So really powerful for you to know what you're going to be looking at before you even look at the Keepa chart. All right, and we also have a dashboard. So when you're sourcing books using the software, you're going to know instantly exactly how much money you've spent, how many books you've purchased, what's my potential profit. All these things you obviously going to want to know, and you no longer need to do that manually or putting it into another spreadsheet or anything like that. It's all done in real time. So really, really great feature you're going to want to use. And this is also more customizable. Things that you want to maybe add in here, other data you want to summarize. If you want to look at, just give you an example, what was the average sales rank of the books that I purchased, right? You could average up those averages if you wanted to do that. I mean, it's an endless number of things you can do with the dashboard or whatever you like. And I've gotten lots of good ideas. Customers have asked me different things. I've set it up one way, but like everything else within our software, because you own it, once you get a hold of it, you can modify it as you see fit. And we have training on that. And there's all kinds of resources for you to do that above and beyond whatever you see here. Now, with the theme of working smarter, the other thing we added into our software is repricing at the time of purchase. So you have the opportunity when looking at the Keepa chart, when you're making a purchase, oftentimes, either consciously or subconsciously, you should be saying to yourself, hey, how quickly do I think realistically this book is going to sell? For example, if you're buying a textbook and it's October, you probably don't want to sell that book in November, right? Maybe at a certain price, of course, right? But you maybe want to wait. It's got to get to Amazon, so on and so forth, right? So, but you're looking at the Keepa chart. You know that it's a textbook, and you kind of know what the season is, and that's where you might want to use what we use all the time, which is a future reprice date. So there's no better time to set that up and make yourself more efficient at doing it at the time of purchase. And it's just quite simple to just click in here, pick a date, and then if you're using our repricer, or you could be using your old tool, you'll have the data, then you'll know, hey, I don't want to touch this book until a certain date, and we're going to, kind of let it ride until then. You can also select your minimum price at the time of purchase, so you have that data. It's going to save you a lot of time, and also it's going to help drive sales because you don't have to really worry about, mispricing or missing out on something or pricing a book at the wrong time of year when you really should be waiting. And this is going to make the process a whole lot smoother in terms of repricing. Okay, and the other great feature that we have in here, which I'm sure I'll make other videos on it because it's a big topic, of course, and that is artificial intelligence. So if you click on here, we've got something called Omni, similar to ChatGPT. I'm sure many of you have used ChatGPT before, but this will be customized working inside our software. So there are many things you can do with it. I'm not going to get into the details here, but you could actually use it in place of creating a filter if you wanted to. Just in plain English, type it out. I'm not going to do that here. If you needed help with this software and you wanted to create some sort of custom things, this can help you with that as well. Additionally, regarding artificial intelligence, we are working on some other things. I'm not going to kind of let it out just yet on what we're doing, but just so you know, you are headed in the right direction with us as far as we're always going to be improving our software. All right, so if you're thinking about doing online arbitrage, now is the very best time in the history of online book arbitrage to be doing it, right? We have tools I've gone over, I've showed you. We have smart strike alerts, giving you real-time alerts when the prices have dropped really quickly. We've got price war scores. We've got supply and demand metrics. We've got a whole new way of sourcing with an interface, and we've got artificial intelligence and a bunch of other things that are built in that I wasn't able to cover on this video. And everything you see here, you can get your hands on for free. Just head on over to masterbookflippers.com and check it out. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe.